Let's get it going.
We're going to be joined by Emily Ehman of the Big Ten Network, also various other volleyball outlets, if you will. She's going to be in Omaha, a place where she is very familiar with. She joins us on the Allo VIP line. Emily, we know you're on a time crunch. We appreciate you joining us. How's life treating you less than 6 hours from first serve?
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. I mean, I know we were chatting before this, and, Omaha really does volleyball right, and really the whole state of Nebraska does. So, I mean, I couldn't be more excited to be here for opening day for Pro Volleyball Federation, and honestly, what should be an insane atmosphere.
So, Emily, let's just talk about, we've had the CEO of the Professional Volleyball Federation on various shows. We've talked to Diane Mendenhall, who is the GM for the Supernovas. Obviously, we're learning about their roster, and we're going to continue to do so. From your perspective as a player, what does it mean to have a professional league in the United States?
Yeah, it's huge. And, I think what people, also maybe aren't thinking about is, we've had one for the last 3 years with Athletes Unlimited, but it hasn't been a sustainable way for most of these professional volleyball players to actually make a living year round playing the sport in the United States, because Athletes Unlimited was only about, 6 to 8 weeks long during the fall. Pro Volleyball Federation is a way for these players to potentially, if they want to play AU, great, but they can stay home, have friends and family watch, not have to play overseas in environments that maybe aren't conducive for, athletically and just mentally being their best. A lot of these players that we watch, the stars in college on these teams, normally if they wanted to play professionally, they would have to be, shipped off to Italy or Turkey or Japan to play in some of these leagues where, they might be on a team where no one even speaks English, and they're really on their own out there. They might have one player from the States with them, just with the rules of not allowing too many international players on each team. So for the players that have come home, or maybe have been playing at home in college for the last 2 years, it's incredible for them to be able to play at home in front of friends and family, on networks where other people in the States can watch them and really keep up with their careers. It's life-changing for these athletes.
You mentioned it being life-changing and having players come back from overseas to play here and in front of their families, not having to take, plane rides across oceans to go watch their daughters play volleyball. How amazing is it that the U.S. volleyball fan is going to be able to see not only some of the players that they watched in college, the stars in college, but also, again, with that international, player mindset, is having some of the better players or some of the really good players internationally be able to play on these U.S. teams in the Pro Volleyball Federation to, again, grow the game to more higher than it already is.
Oh, it's been so cool. And yeah, of course, not only for these athletes that are from the U.S. having, playing at home, but for international players, like someone like, Betty De La Cruz, who's on the Supernovas team. She is an absolute star. She's been playing professionally for 22 years. And maybe you watched her during Athletes Unlimited, but man, I think people are really going to see what, international volleyball is all about. Each team, has players from overseas that they've brought onto their roster that are so excited to play in the States, because I think they understand now where volleyball is going to go in the States, and they're able to make, a livable wage playing volleyball in the States, whereas some of these pro leagues in the past, they haven't necessarily been able to do. When it boils down to it, I think when you travel overseas, people always are talking about the American dream and, starting something new and being really excited to do that. And I think a lot of these international stars are realizing that, that can apply to volleyball too, in a sport where, normally for other countries, it's so massive. It's one of the top sports internationally. And I think people are realizing that it can be really big in the States. And what we've seen for the last few years, especially, is it's only getting bigger.
I mean, what are the odds that this season Nebraska, the University of Nebraska, holds the Volleyball Day in Nebraska in Memorial Stadium and attracts, over 90,000 fans? There were multiple records for attendance and TV records falling for volleyball watchers. And all of this coincides with the Pro Volleyball Federation launching today.
Yeah, I think it's been a culmination of a few things. And, thinking back to even 10 years ago when there's been a really big push at the top of some of these networks to get more volleyball on TV so that, players and even young players can aspire to play on these teams where they can be treated as stars. I think people, especially that are from Nebraska, that have followed, the Huskers over the last 20 years or so, understand how cool volleyball is, and, people look up to them. But now I think people outside of Nebraska and outside of these volleyball hubs are really understanding where the sport can go. So there's been a massive push, from the executive level at some of these TV networks, which has garnered, more eyeballs on the sport, more high school players playing than ever before. And that's trickling up into the club world. And then of course into college athletics and college volleyball as well. So I think it's been growing over the last 10 years or so. And I think what really started this boom was the U.S. Olympic team winning a gold medal, at the last Olympics in Tokyo. I think that was huge to get even more eyeballs on it, to say, hey, we are a volleyball hub, not just, at the college level, but really in the world. We have some of the best players. We develop them throughout the years. And I think that really sparked growth of the sport, that now we're seeing, more games on TV than ever before, and the start of some of these pro leagues, because they understand that the talent is there.
Emily, just a couple more before we go ahead and let you go. We're speaking to Emily Ehman. She's going to be on the call tonight for the Supernovas and the Atlanta Vibe on Stadium. Now, Emily, just a couple days ago, the Pro Volleyball Federation released the preseason predictions for how the season would end up. And the Supernovas predicted to finish first, while the Atlanta Vibe predicted to finish right behind them at second. We know a little bit about the Supernovas, but what can you tell us more just about tonight's matchup between obviously the Supernovas and the Atlanta Vibe?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really exciting because these are two of the top teams in the league. It's going to be so fun to watch them go head to head. Of course, the Supernovas were picked to finish potentially first at the end of the season in May, but the Vibe are right behind them with just one less vote. Both of these rosters are absolutely stacked, which is going to make this matchup so fun. There's some pin hitters, especially that, you got to keep your eye on tonight. You have Betty De La Cruz for the Omaha Supernovas, who is a power hitter. She's one of the best in the entire world. She's so much fun to watch. Then for Atlanta, you have a player like Leah Edmond, who's only been playing professionally for about 3 years now, but was a star at Kentucky a few years back. She's definitely someone that I would keep my eye on as well. But it's going to be a big slugfest up front. Both of these teams have kind of different ways in which they go about their offenses, of course, defensively as well. But all I know is it's going to be a slugfest up front. And you have two of the best liberos that are going to go head to head with Morgan Hens, who's on that national team. And then you also have Kendall White for Omaha, which is going to be so much fun.
Emily, when you make the jump from college volleyball to professional volleyball, when it's somebody obviously in your shoes that is around it so much more than just the average person, there's going to be a lot of people in the CHI Health Center tonight that aren't accustomed to professional volleyball. Talk about the speed of the game. What is so dramatically different between that fans might see from the professional volleyball side that maybe watching Nebraska versus even like a Wisconsin or Nebraska, Minnesota on a weekend? What's the difference in the speed of the game?
Oh, it's going to be so fun. I think people are really in for a treat, especially if you've really only watched college volleyball. Maybe some people have dipped their toes into watching VNLs, which happens every summer, and might watch, their country's national team. But it's fun. I think one thing to notice is it gets a lot more about strategy, and teams are a lot more, they're able to run schemes offensively and can really break down plays. They don't make as many errors because these players have a higher volleyball IQ. Of course, some of them have been playing for 20 plus years professionally, but it's just a really high level of volleyball that, yes, sometimes that plays out in a faster offense. I think one thing to really look out for is the back row attack. Some teams use it pretty well, and we're seeing it a lot more at the college game, but that's something that professionally you have to have in your arsenal if you're playing. And as a pin hitter, you have to be able to play all the way around because there aren't as many subs. In normal international volleyball, they only have 6 subs. Pro Volleyball Federation is allowing 8 compared to the college game where you have 15. So a lot of these pin hitters don't even have to play back row most of the time. It can be subbed out for a defensive specialist. But these are players that have to play all the way around, and that allows for another attack coming out of the back row pretty much at all times. And that's a really fun thing to watch when you have these quick tempo sets going and a lot of back row action as well.
Emily, just a quick question. With the Pro Volleyball Federation launching and having these U.S. teams, has there any thought crossed your mind about coming out of retirement?
Well, look, I sat the bench for quite a few number of years, so no, I love being on this side of it. I just get to talk about it.
All right, Emily. Hey, we appreciate you fitting us into your busy schedule. I know we're all going to enjoy tonight at the CHI Health Center a tremendous amount. So we appreciate you taking a few minutes of your time, and we'll see you later tonight.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you guys. Thanks for having me.